Scott.Hylton, Scott Talks. Today we're walking and talking about Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, or none of the above. There was a survey done, may have been by Apple, I don't know, it sounds like it, that 85% of new car buyers would not buy a car that did not have either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And I kind of agree with that. I mean, I bought my last truck from Nissan, and at the time they did not offer it. And I was kind of bummed that I'd had a Nissan truck before, and I was like, I'll just use my phone to navigate it on the times I have to. And my wife's car was usually the car we took on trips. I used mine for work. So it wasn't going to be as big a deal. It would have been nice to have. And back in the day when I got it, it was all very new. And I'm one of the people that just said, okay, I'll just take the Nissan. But now I'm spoiled. I've used Apple CarPlay in my wife's car, and she has a Samsung, so she's used Android Auto, and it's great. We plug in. The people that have the wireless ones, a lot of times you don't get that with your car. It can wirelessly connect because it has to use some kind of Wi-Fi built into the car, which sounds a little expensive. Like they're still going to have some kind of phone plan booked in your car, and you're like, no one wants to pay for that. My wife just got out of her Google phone contract on her watch. Hey, people on a little motorcycle. Check it out. Here comes another one. Hey, there you go. Yay. So, yeah, nobody wants that. I mean, there are people that work and have their iPad hooked to a dedicated phone thing because they work on their phone and their iPad works, and they're going to kill when the Mac suddenly gets it. To be able to connect your Mac without a hotspot from your phone straight to a phone line. If they're working and they're always on the road, they're going to toss that little iPad and get their Mac going on the phone line and forget the iPad. You know that. But for the CarPlay, I love it. I mean, it integrates my Apple Maps, Waze Maps, Google Maps, Spotify, everything that you would kind of want. You can pick to have messages play, which is not as great unless someone's in the car with you. Then you don't know what kind of message you're going to get, and you're like, ugh, not that message. You don't want something weird coming up, or your doctor's appointment coming up, and the people are like, what, are you all right? Yeah, you don't need that. So you can turn it off, and there's Siri suggestions that walk to McDonald's over a mile. It was a great walk, still out walking. But yeah, you can turn off Siri suggestions and you won't get calendar updates, but you might not get some of the cool features. Like, what if Siri realizes you're home and you downloaded the app for your garage door opener on your phone and on CarPlay? Because you go into settings and you get an Android Auto is also in settings for Samsung, and you can pick some of the apps, not every app, but some of the apps that are supported for those features. And you could pick, some of them have your garage door, and it would say, would you like to open the garage door? And you're like, well, sure, of course. Have it loaded up. You can pick them, you can put them in order. There are a couple of dedicated things that you cannot delete, like they'll make you have the phone, the dedicated car. Like if you have a Honda, it's going to say we have a Honda. It has a Honda app, so that's always going to be there. There are a couple little apps that will always be there, but you can add your Spotify, and you can add your Waze and your Google Maps and different things like that. There are cool things you can add. You can turn the colors automatically to support, dark and light mode like your phone, so sunset and sunrise. And I've heard there's some fancy cars that have sensors that indicate, it's dark, I'm going to dark mode, which is cool until you go into a tunnel and they say that it automatically goes to dark, and then it takes it about a minute to go back to light when you get out of the tunnel, and then you can't read the maps real well because it's too glary. You don't want it in light mode in the nighttime because it's just too much light kicking out. I just leave mine on dark. I just use flat background, none of those funny colors that Apple provides. I just want black in the background so I can see it and deal with it and have my maps, and I'm good. But it's neat. You can put them in order, the most important ones first, you know. And my wife has messages that pop up, and she doesn't always answer them. She's like, oh, I know what that probably is. And then she'll just get to it later. But we have answered the messages when we need to hear from somebody we knew we were getting a message from when we were on the road for a bit, which is good to have, as opposed to some third-party system. You can buy third-party Apple CarPlay and Android Auto devices that you can have hooked up to your car or installed over your old entertainment screen sometimes, or just installed over it, you know, up and above or someplace like that. I always get runny noses, allergies. But so they're very cool. Now, if you're getting a Tesla, you're getting your own, that's an exception, right? And I don't know about Rivians. They're the new fun electric car, a little more than a Tesla, bigger than a Tesla. A lot of Tesla owners are getting them. And I imagine they have their own dedicated system too, so that'd be an exception. But I've heard GMC was looking to get their own system made by Google, who makes Samsung, you know, Android is Google. And Samsung just tweaks it for all their phones. And Android Auto is basically a Google thing. So GMC's paying Google to develop a system that's dedicated to GMC. And it's just crazy. And, you know, Apple people would be like, what? I'm not buying a GMC. You know, why would I do that now? It's so convenient now, and you expect it on your car now. You plug it in and lay it down on top of that charger, and it'll charge the phone for you, and it'll work with your thing. And if it's wireless charging, it has to have some kind of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connection. So that might be another phone bill based on. Ask them how that works when you're at the dealer. Say, well, I don't need that. I'll plug it in. I'll just plug it in and it works, right? Okay, I'll do that. But some of you may want that. Just jump in the car and go. It automatically jumps to Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and you're done. And you got your main music system. You know, unless there's a storm coming and you want to check the local weather or something, you really, on the radio, the odds are you won't find a DJ mentioning anything unless it's bad. But and you can check the weather on your apps on your phone. You know, you don't need constant weather updates. You can push in weather. You can have a weather app working on, some of the weather apps work on Android Auto and Apple, and some don't. So you find the ones that work for you, that are dedicated, that work on that system, and you put it in your phone because in your settings you can pick the apps that you want on your device and the apps you don't want on the device, except for a few exceptions. Sorry. But I love it. You do not need a dedicated map system from the car manufacturer. That's old-fashioned. That's a dinosaur, and you don't need to pay for it. You don't need to pay for updates. That's just crazy. That's just, you got it on your phone. You need your phone. Your phone does everything. Don't worry about it. Tell them no. Tell them no. Tell them you got Google or Apple Maps or Waze, and you're going to use it, the Apple CarPlay and the Android Auto, and you don't need the other one, and you're good to go. Right, and you don't need to pay for Spotify. Spotify has a little bit of a free version if you want. If you've got Prime shipping, you get a little bit of an Amazon Music account. Not the full one, but you get the basic one. You can get Pandora Radio free. iHeartRadio has your radio stations, and if they've been cutting back on their signal, which they do, TV stations and radio stations are pulling back on their signal to save money. And you know, the advertising is getting weak. People don't watch cable anymore. That's a dying thing. And radio stations are cutting back on dedicated news channels and stuff like that, and they're kind of outsourcing it, so it sounds like you're getting the news, but you're getting it from some guy in Texas or something, and he's just paid to do what sounds like local news or international news for them for a smaller fee. Same thing with broadcast. They're slowly whittling it away so it gets broadcast. Most people will get local now or the local own or Haystack News for their streaming service, news, or just watch YouTube. We watch YouTube. You can get a story, California fires, yeah, YouTube. You get news accounts all over the place, constantly. Or then you'll get on your local. It's better. So you don't need cable, you don't need that. Right now people are big into sports. They want to see, sports with cable. That's a sticky one, but a lot of people get YouTube TV or Hulu plus live TV for about $70-80. Fubo, about the same. It's up there. And you can get a cheaper version with Sling, but you don't get quite as many channels. And then you get a dedicated sports service, a little sports service added on. Sling will jack that price up. You can get the blue and the orange Sling together, then you can add your dedicated sports service, and boom, 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 it gets higher and higher. Suddenly you got a YouTube TV account. YouTube TV is the most popular if you're going to go with that. Spotify is the most popular radio. They have great playlists. A lot of people love the playlist. A lot of you Apple people like your Apple Music, but if you want to switch it up, and they have podcasts. Apple has a podcast player. If you have an iPhone, I would check out Overcast as a great podcast player. I love Overcast. And it's got a lot of settings to change and dedicate which ones podcasts start out first. Create playlists. You can do all sorts of good stuff. But between the fancy features, it's become a big must unless you have a Tesla or Rivian or something that's really high tech, and you're like, no, this is cooler than Apple CarPlay because the screen's like the size of a giant iPad. Yes, I know. And at Christmas time, the little cars and people crossing in front of you, the display on the Tesla can turn into Santa and his sleigh, into little reindeers and stuff. And that's cool too. You can change it up and have cool stuff in front of you that displays instead of because it has radar. It's showing you who's around you and different things like that. And you can see that on Tesla. And that's cool. You don't have that on Apple because you don't have cameras. They don't know about that. But for most of us, this is the future. This is the way to go. I don't know what GMC's thinking. And they'll probably get some kind of version of Android Auto, but the Apple people will be like, what about us? I mean, we'll let it work a little bit, but we're not going to give you all the features. Apple does that with all third-party fitness trackers and stuff. Some of them they'll let work with Apple, but they won't give them all the features that you can get on an Apple Watch. You see what I'm saying? So if they allow it, look at the reviews on YouTube. The odds are whatever GMC puts out for you Apple people won't be that great. And it's possible it may not be that great for Android people because they may say, well, the difference is this and this. They did a little bit of tweaks that's almost like Android Auto, but you need to look into it. So most popular car brands for you guys to keep an eye out for, Honda and Toyota, for the quality, just basically. And if you want even better quality or a better car, luxury car, Acura is the luxury version of Honda, and Lexus is the luxury version of Toyota. Now a lot of people are getting this Subarus. The Forester is very popular and good quality car, and some people like Mazda. So look at all those for options. But a lot of people are getting hybrids, and look how that works. See if it's kind you have to plug in at the house, and that's going to be inconvenient unless you own a Tesla and you get an electrician to hook you up, or you can plug it in. Sometimes there's just way they just plug in with adapters. But a lot of people just, if you're getting a Tesla, you're plugging it in. So that's it. And if you get a different kind of car, it's all plug in. But some of the hybrids, they have gas and they run, and they have the battery that saves you on the gas, and it runs. So it does both, and it charges not based on plugging in, but by driving around. So that's sort of the best of both worlds if you want to dip your toe into the battery world and see how that's going to go for you. But those batteries are expensive to replace in about 10 years. So for the convenience, the different things that you can do with both services, and my wife loves it. And she occasionally will hit the radio on a local trip somewhere. just to enjoy the local radio, which is fine. You're just going down the street and you know where you're going. It's easy to push and you don't have to deal with it. But anything with the distance or just to keep up with your podcast and stuff, you just hook it up and you listen to it. It's easy. You could listen to this, treat it like a podcast. Just look at the screen. Don't let it distract you if they allow it. They may not. They may say no. You can't be playing YouTube videos. I haven't tried it, so I don't know. But it's probably a no-no. So like and subscribe if you learned anything. Have a good day.